52 years. That's how long it's been since humans left low Earth orbit. And in 4 days, that changes. But what NASA just announced will matter far longer than a single mission. Because the agency didn't just confirm Artemis 2, they revealed a plan to build something that's never existed before, a permanent human settlement on the moon. And to make it happen, they killed the project they've been working on for years. On Tuesday, at NASA headquarters in Washington, Administrator Jared Isaacman dropped a bombshell. The Gateway Lunar Space Station, the orbiting outpost that was supposed to be humanity's stepping stone to the lunar surface, is being paused. That's NASA speak for canceled. The billions already spent, the international partnerships with Europe, Japan, Canada, all of it put on hold. And in its place, a $20 billion bet on something far more ambitious. But here's the part that hasn't made headlines yet. Buried in the announcement was a mission that sounds like science fiction. A nuclear-powered spacecraft, headed to Mars, dropping helicopters from the sky. We'll get to that. First, let's talk about what just died. Gateway was supposed to be humanity's first deep space habitat. A small station orbiting the moon, serving as a waypoint for astronauts heading to the surface. NASA and its partners spent years designing it. Contracts were signed, hardware was being built. The European Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency, Japan, all of them had committed modules and equipment. As recently as last year, Gateway was central to NASA's Moon to Mars strategy. Now it's gone, and if you're wondering why, the answer comes down to one word: time. The clock is running in this great power competition, Isaacman said Tuesday. Success or failure will be measured in months, not years. China has announced plans to land astronauts on the moon by 2030. Some estimates say they could do it sooner. And Gateway, for all its promise, was slow, complex, expensive. Building a space station in lunar orbit before you can even land on the surface? That's the long way around. So NASA is taking a shortcut. Instead of building a station to orbit the moon, they'll build directly on the surface, a base, permanent infrastructure, habitats where astronauts can live for weeks, then months, eventually years. The plan rolls out in 3 phases. Phase 1 starts next year. Up to 30 robotic missions will land on the moon, testing everything from power systems to communications to mobility. NASA is calling this Build, Test, Learn. Small landers, rovers, and something called MoonFall hoppers, robotic spacecraft that use short rocket-powered jumps to travel tens of kilometers across the surface, hunting for water ice in permanently shadowed craters. Phase 2 brings humans back into the picture. Semi-habitable structures go up. Think of them as the first buildings of a lunar town. Astronauts won't just visit, they'll stay, work, conduct research that can only happen on the moon. Phase 3 is where it gets real. Larger habitats arrive, pressurized rovers that let astronauts explore far from base, nuclear reactors providing heat and electricity through the 2-week lunar night, international contributions from Italy, Canada, Japan. The transition, as NASA puts it, from periodic expeditions to a permanent lunar presence. $20 billion over 7 years. That's the price tag. Now, some context. The Planetary Society estimates NASA has already spent about $107 billion, adjusted for inflation, on return to the moon plans since 2004. That includes the Constellation program under Bush, which got canceled, the asteroid redirect mission under Obama, which got canceled, and Artemis under Trump's first term, which survived into Biden's administration and now gets another overhaul under Trump's second term. Every new president brings a new direction, and every direction costs billions. So the obvious question, will this plan survive the next administration? Isaacman's answer was blunt. We are not going to let this become another program that gets studied to death. The strategy, he says, is to move so fast that canceling becomes politically impossible. Land humans on the moon before 2028. Get the first habitats in place. Create facts on the ground, literally, that no future president can easily undo. Whether that works remains to be seen. But here's where the announcement took an unexpected turn. Remember that nuclear spacecraft headed to Mars? It's called SR-1 Freedom. Launching in 2028, it'll be the first American spacecraft to use nuclear propulsion since the 1960s. And its cargo, a mission called Skyfall. 6 helicopter drones, descendants of Ingenuity, the little chopper that proved flight was possible on Mars, will be dropped into the Martian atmosphere to scout potential landing zones for future astronauts. Let that sink in. Helicopters. Falling from the sky. On Mars. It sounds like a movie, but it's the official plan, announced alongside the moon base, and it signals something bigger. NASA isn't just trying to return to the moon. They're building the infrastructure, nuclear power, long-duration habitats, robotic scouts for missions to Mars and beyond. So what does this mean for the astronauts who are about to fly? Artemis 2 launches April 1st. 4 astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, will fly around the moon and back. It's a test flight, no landing, but if it succeeds, it proves the hardware works. It proves humans can survive beyond low Earth orbit, and it sets the stage for Artemis 3, the mission that's supposed to put boots on the lunar surface. Those astronauts trained for a program that included Gateway. Now Gateway is gone, the destination hasn't changed, but the path to get there has shifted beneath their feet. For the average person watching from Earth, this might all feel abstract. A moon base sounds impressive, but what does it actually mean? Here's one way to think about it. Every major expansion of human presence across oceans into new continents, eventually into space, started with small, fragile outposts. People who went knowing they might not come back. Slowly, those outposts became settlements, then cities, then just places where people live. The moon base NASA announced this week isn't a city, it's not even a village, but it's the first step toward making humanity a species that doesn't live on just one world. And if something goes wrong on Earth, an asteroid, a pandemic, something we haven't imagined, having people somewhere else might matter more than we can calculate.
That's the bet NASA is making. $20 billion, 7 years, a base on the moon.
The question now is whether they can actually pull it off. 4 different presidents have tried to return humans to the moon. All of them failed. This administration says they'll succeed where the others couldn't. They say the urgency is real, the competition is real, the technology is finally ready. Maybe they're right, or maybe this becomes another abandoned plan, another footnote in the long history of almost going back. But on April 1st, 4 astronauts will climb into a capsule and leave Earth orbit for the first time in 52 years. That part is happening. What comes after? That depends on whether the people in charge can stay the course. What do you think? Will we actually see astronauts living on the moon in our lifetime? I want to hear your honest answer.